Hi there, this is the more detailed session looking at how we generate these CSV files to put into the merge batch uploader, and it will cover Excel, what a CSV file is, what formulas are in Excel, a couple of rules on things that we have to abide by in the CSV world, just a bit more information. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at some of these. So if I go into this CSV file, so we'll start off and say what a CSV file is. So CSV stands for comma separated values, and it is, as the name suggests, if I just can find one of these. So let's have a look at the straight outers. Okay, yeah, it looks like a crazy wall of text, but if you look at the patterns in here, you'll see that there's commas between the relevant columns, and that's basically saying at the top, these are the headers or the columns, and every time we run into a comma, it's basically saying that's the end of that column, at the end of the data for that one. So the brand is that one, and then the t-shirt, the actual title is here, and price is next one, etc, etc. Now the problem comes if in your description or bullet points you put in commas. Obviously then it thinks that the comma is saying that that's the end of this column and move on to the next one, and you will end up with skewy kind of data, and colours will be descriptions and all sorts of horrible stuff. So instead of doing that, what we do is we're putting in semicolons in here. So you can at actual runtime, if you like, when the extension reads a file in and populates the text boxes, it replaces the semicolons with commas, so you won't end up with these in your actual merch listings, but it's something to be aware of. So if you ever do load it into the tool and it looks funny, just check that you haven't got any commas or additional commas anywhere else. So this is what a CSV file looks like. The easiest way to edit these, I mean, you can just, party on in here and go around typing and saving, finding, replacing, that's fine. And I use a tool called TextPad, highly recommend that, or you can just use Notepad, that's no problem. But the easiest way is to just edit them in Excel. So if double click a CSV file, if you have Excel installed, I'm not going to go into the details of what Excel is, because I presume everybody knows about it, or if you don't, you can Google it. But it will open up in Excel basically. So there we go. So if we have a look at this sample here, what we've got are the text fields, if you like, across the top, the colours and all that usual good stuff. I just wanted to run into a bit more detail on what you can do and what I would typically do. So brand, in the early days of merch, I think people were saying you should keep them separate, but I think people are having quite good success, especially in these scale designs where you keep them under the same brand, and then these show up in the also bought with or in different listings. It kind of combines them together better and ranks better. I'm not an expert in that, but that's just what I've heard recently. So moving on to the formulas and how we use Excel and the power of it, what we will do here is, instead of just typing out the text as we've got here, we have to type out and let Excel know, hey, we're going to substitute some of the text in here with some parameters. So what we're saying is equals, open quotes, and then you put in your text, and then you have to close those quotes and say, and I want you to insert this bit of information in there. That bit of information is actually a cell reference. So if you think like battleships, it's a bit like that. So you go across for a column and down to a row. So that's P2. So I've got the years at the end here. And then you have to say that's the end of the extra data I want to put in. And I also want to append t-shirt at the end of it. It might look a bit difficult to understand to start with, but once you've done a few of them, it will just flow, I'm sure. Okay, so we repeat that same pattern across these different the title bullets, bullet 1 and 2, and then on the description I tend to just combine what I've put in previously. So the simplest way to do that is just to have what you can see highlighted here, B2 and D2, add E2 all together, and you end up with something that looks like that. Okay, well actually it's not looking like that yet, that's not right. It's the combination of it is going to be quite long, but you can see already here we've got a problem in that we don't tend to put full stops at the end of the title. So the way to get around that is if I just undo what I've done before and show you. So put in the ampersand, open the quotes, put in a dot and a space, and then put in the next one. I tend to put the full stop at the end of the bullet, so it doesn't tend to be a problem. You can see it's picked it up there, so that's fine. Okay. And if we go across now, we'll see that there's the years, it's picking those years up. And what I was going to do is actually just notice this is still in CSV format, and only the top row is truly doing the substitution. So let me just make sure that we're going to be we can refresh these correctly. So go down, delete those. Now to drag a formula down, what you do is you grab that little corner icon there and bring it down. It automatically updates the cell reference from P2 to P3, and that's about all you'd need to know from that. And the quick way to do that is to move across all of the ones that you want and start dragging them down like that. Okay, so you can see they're updating with the years fine. Now something I do is just double click that, and it will fill in all of them up until it reaches the end of the series of data. So it's a little tip there. So what I was thinking of showing you as well is basically adding to this data. So if we were to say we're going to cross-reference this with occupations, I'm not sure if this would make much sense in terms of selling shirts and things, but if we were to say the best, and then in here we're going to close that off, and we're going to put in our reference to the cell next to it, so we know that is the one after P, which is Q2. So I was going to say the best accessory designer were born. Brilliant grammar there, but you get the idea. And then again I can double click that. Okay, let's change it to we're all born in, it's late here, so grammar's not as good as it could be. So yeah, that's what we do. So now we've got the formulas in here. I would suggest that you save a copy of this as in Excel, so you can always get back to your formulas. Okay, and then you can save it in CSV as well. So save as, I don't normally pick that one, I'm not sure what will happen if I do, so I will not. I'm going to pick that one, so comma delimited or comma separated values, save over that one. Do you want to do this because you will lose your formulas? It's saying yes I do. Well, you don't lose them instantly, you'll lose them when you exit out of it basically, and you try and reload it as a CSV. Okay, so back to the tool world, import CSV. This is the one we just changed. Yep. Okay, and the best accessory designer are all born in 1918 t-shirts. Got to be a bestseller. So the tool will read all the columns in, and it will read any additional ones. It will not affect the tool, so you can add as many things as you want onto the ends here and use them in your listing data. So feel free to party on at the end here. These guys have got to stay in the right order, so you can't move colours around or do anything like this. You just the tool relies on those being in a certain order. So that is that. So yeah, that is what a CSV file is, how you use Excel, how we can use formulas to leverage all this. Of course, you can just do the good old find and replace in all of this. So If you wanted to say perfect shirt for crazy people born in 1918 or anything along those lines, you can just find a replace. That's fine. Okay, so before I go, I'll just summarize what we have learned and then wrap it up. So yet semicolons instead of commas in text. So we've been through the reason for that. So fill them in, and you can then what I do is just fill them in there and save it to CSV, and obviously the tool's going to read it incorrectly. You can add as many additional columns as you want. Please don't remove any columns, and then you're going to save as comma separated values when you're saving for merge. There is obviously no item or option in the drop down to save as comma separated values for merge, and then you'd want to save a separate Excel workbook to save your formulas in case you want to make any quick tweaks. It's a bit of a pain to recreate the formulas. As ever, I would say join the Facebook group, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out the website. I'm building that up at the moment, and look out for more tools. There should be one coming in the next week or so, depending on how much time I can dedicate to it. Okay, cheers for now, guys. Any questions, just hit me up in the Facebook group. Okay, cheers, bye.